So, what is somatic coaching? Let's start there. It's using the wisdom of the body to understand what's occurring in the unconscious mind. So we can then bring it into awareness, right? We need awareness, and then integrate this new wisdom into our consciousness to make lasting change. Guys, the body does not forget anything. Everything we experience in the mind is also experienced in our bodies, including trauma. And I believe that no one gets away without some level of trauma in their life. You may agree, you may disagree. Personally, I believe just being born is fucking traumatic, right? You're in this warm cocoon and all of a sudden you're in bright lights, lots of loud noises, bit traumatic. Now, this trauma is stored in our molecules and our tissues and will often surface later in life if it's not released, right? When an animal experiences something that feels even slightly traumatic, they shake. And that's why our bodies will often shake after a traumatic event, but they don't always. And when we stifle it and it's not released, then it is stored. And like I was about to mention, it surfaces later in life, often through physical pain, emotional stress, anxiety, depression, weight gain, addiction, and I could go on and on. So as healers, you must understand that the body is what the body is communicating, okay? So we can get to the heart of what is living underneath all of these symptoms that people are going to present to you. Or if you're here for yourself, why your symptoms are being presented to you. So much of self-development, coaching, healing work, therapy is based on what we call the allopathic paradigm. Now, I'm curious, how many of you have heard of the allopathic paradigm? Just give me a thumbs up, a one, One kind of, Sherry. Have not heard of it, Camellia. Okay. Let's hear. Anyone else familiar, not familiar? I want to know, am I talking, a foreign language? Yes, standard Western sick medicine. Exactly, Sherry. Not familiar. Okay, let me go into just a little bit about it. So I think it's really important. So as Sherry just said, allopathic comes from Western medicine, which aims to find, diagnose, and treat symptoms and diseases. So let me just give you a little example. You don't feel well, got a sore throat, say you go to the doctor, take your temperature, maybe they order some blood tests, listen to your heart and your lungs, and then they compare your results to a norm based on thousands and thousands of other people. If your measurements fall within the normal range, you are normal, healthy. And if they deviate from the norm, you are deemed abnormal. And the doctor suggests time for some treatment to bring your measurements back up to normal. Guess what, guys? Mainstream psychology is also based in this allopathic model. So are, not to put any coaching programs down, but so are a lot of coaching programs. So if your behavior goes too far from the norm, you're considered deviant, abnormal, sick. Subsequently, you're given treatment to modify your behavior and normalize you. So this way of thinking governs the way we treat ourselves, our friends, our family, our coworkers, pretty much all people. People we don't know, people we do know. So let me give you an example. Maybe you're really hardworking. Normally you're really hardworking, okay? And you're trying to make your business thrive. But all of a sudden you start spending a significant amount of time scrolling on social media. No one's guilty, right? Me either. Watching TV or getting on the phone and chatting with friends. So these behaviors are outside your norm. And maybe you begin thinking, what is wrong with me? Why am I not working on my business? Your inner coach says, well, you have a procrastination problem. So we must reduce your distractions, focus more. You will again be normal. You will again be your diligent, hardworking self. And then you try that and it doesn't work. So you go read some self-help books, maybe learn some new techniques, meditate, go get coached, go see a therapist. However, what if that disturbing behavior, in fact, represents an intelligent resistance to the way you usually approach your business, reflecting that you could use a break, you're being too perfectionistic, or in need of some fresh ideas? But by ignoring this inner wisdom, you end up treating your business like shit, end up burnt out, and hating it. We definitely don't want that. Let me give you one more example, just so you guys make sure you got the idea. I'm pretty sure you probably do already, but I like this one too. So my partner, who I love dearly, is normally very warm-hearted, but let's say he starts behaving a bit irritable. Does happen at times. And I automatically think, what's wrong with him? Maybe he isn't getting enough sleep. Maybe there's too much stress in his life. And after diagnosing the problem, I recommend treatment, AKA suggestions, that will restore him and our relationship back to its normal status. But what if his behavior that bothers me may instead represent, again, this intelligence that's inside of him against his normal, more accommodating style? Perhaps it reflects the fact that he has some deeper needs that aren't being addressed. Guys, people aren't broken. Definitely don't need to be fixed. Here's what they need. They need to be witnessed, like really, really witnessed. They need to be seen as whole. And they need to learn. They need to connect back to their truth and not be forced into this mold of what's considered normal, of what they really aren't. They need to be given permission to be themselves. We all need that. Guys, the body is a fabulous way to get there because it never lies. When we learn how to help people do this, connect to their real truth, the wisdom that lives within them, that's how we get to healing. Healing that is aligned with them, not us. So as somatic practitioners, we aren't practicing allopathic medicine. We see everyone as whole and that the medicine they need lives within each individual or group, that their symptoms are messengers communicating with them. And our job, our sole job, is to use tools and techniques to help them unveil what they are. So let's talk just for a moment about your brain. This might be a repeat for some of you. The majority of your unconscious mind was formed from 0 to 7. So many of your responses and reactions are driven actually by your unconscious mind, not your conscious mind. Actually, it's believed that over 88% is controlled by the unconscious mind. And this is why it is imperative that we dive into the unconscious, that we don't do our work only on the conscious level. The body speaks for the unconscious. It's why sometimes, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, I notice it all the time now, the body will be doing one thing and the words don't match. It's because the mind wants to believe something and the body is speaking the truth. So we can access the unconscious mind through the body, which is what we do in the somatic journey. So let's do it. Let's explore, experience the somatic journey. So who would like to be my volunteer? Stephanie, thank you. All right, so Stephanie, now I have to figure out how to add. Oh, it works. Sometimes it works. Stephanie, you are now the spotlight with me.
Ooh.
Stephanie, thank you so much for being my being the model. I want to just thank you ahead of time as you're in front of a bunch of strangers for being willing to be vulnerable, because this does require a level of vulnerability. Okay, so Stephanie, I think we're just going to start. And so guys, I'm going to take Stephanie through the journey first, and then I'll break down the steps. Originally, I was going to break down the steps and then take her through, but I think this will work better. So Stephanie, first off, I want you to just take a couple deep breaths in from your nose, and then just slowly exhale and release them. And then you can let your eyes remain closed if that feels okay for you. And I want you to just make some contact right now with your body. So like we did earlier with the breath work, I want you to just start to scan your body. And as you're scanning your body, I want you to notice the first area of your body that kind of speaks to you. And when you come to that area, I want you to just pause for a moment in that area. And I want you to kind of be with it. And as you're with that area of your body, when you're ready, just let us know where you're at in your body and what you're feeling.
So it's like my shoulders, neck area. Really,
Hold on 1 second, Stephanie. I just realized this audio thing is still, hold on. Hold on. I can't hear you for some reason. 1 second. It might be my volume. It's because the music is still on. Hold on. Let me turn that off. We don't want that. Okay. Now I should be able to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Sorry about that.
Okay. That's okay. So like in my neck area right here, just like really tense, really tight.
Okay. And go ahead and let's go into your neck for a moment, into the tightness, into the tension. And if you were to take that tightness and tension, and if you were to show us with your hands what it looks like.
Like what it looks like this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what I saw Stephanie do, she's making 2 fists. And it kind of almost looks like these fists are all balled up. Yeah. Okay. And then Stephanie, if you just stay with that for a moment. So part of the reason, guys, I'm having her put it into her hands is because we're going to begin to amplify this. And I don't want her to actually amplify it necessarily in her neck, right? I want to get wisdom from it without putting her in more pain. Okay. So that makes sense, hopefully. All right. So Stephanie, we've got these 2 fists, and that we're imagining right now, we're taking our imagination and the tension from her neck, the tenseness from her neck is going into her hands, right? Okay. And if you just stay with that for a moment, that tension in your hands now from your neck, Stephanie, tell me a little bit. Can you describe it even more to me?
It's like just like a tightness, like it's just there. It's just sitting there. It's just
sitting there. So it's stagnant.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not moving.
Mm-mm.
And that tightness, that tension, does it have a temperature to it at all?
It's pretty warm.
Pretty warm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it? Is it got like a texture at all to it?
Not really. Just imagine like trying to like pull almost like rubber, like trying to pull it. Imagine that. Like that's what it feels like. It's
okay,
like
perfect.
So it's just like, it's stuck.
Okay. It's stuck. And the way, so go ahead and bring those hands back up just like you had them. And she said it's like pulling rubber. And I don't know, tell me if this resonates for you, Stephanie, the way you just went like this. It almost to me looked like a really tight rubber band that isn't really moving because you said it's stuck.
Yeah, it's not moving. It's
It's
just
not moving. Okay, perfect. And now, Stephanie, if we are go into that for a moment and we're with this tight rubber band, right? And you were to amplify that. So I want you to maybe just allow your eyes to close for a moment, right? And you're with your hands and they're tight and then they're like kind of pulling at this rubber band from side to side, right? And you were to amplify that feeling. What happens?
it doesn't move and it gets more painful. It's like,
It doesn't move and it gets more painful.
yeah.
Okay.
Like
What
just
happens
the
if
more you tug, the more the more the pain shoots.
can you tell me about the pain?
Yeah, so it would be like right here, like on my neck, like going down to my shoulders. And it's just like a shooting right now. It is. It's so funny now that we're talking about it. It's like this, like kind of like shooting pain that just goes down.
Okay. And does it go up too or just down?
No, just down.
Just down. Okay. And where does it stop?
Stops right around the shoulder.
Right around the shoulder. Okay. So it goes a little bit of a way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I want you to go back into it for a moment. And we've got these two fists, right? And we've got this tugging that's happening, that's creating a shooting pain that's going down into her shoulder. And Stephanie, what happens if we again try to go into it and amplify it more? Notice her hands are moving just a little bit wider. It's trying to pull apart.
Yeah, the pain just gets like more amplified.
More amplified. So the intensity of the pain,
Yeah.
would you say goes up a level?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if you stay with it and we amplify it even a little bit more,
Yeah, it just keeps going. It's just there. Now it's just a pain that's just sitting there.
it's just sitting there. And how is that different when before we were giving it this much attention?
I mean, my neck was tight, but it wasn't like amplifying. It wasn't like, it was just there.
Mhm.
Just
And when
there.
it's amplified,
And when we're
it,
paying attention to it, it's like, oh, there is some pain right going down
yeah,
here.
yeah, there's some pain going down the neck,
Mhm.
traveling down the body. Okay, so we're just gonna, I promise we won't stay here much longer. So we're just gonna just hold it just a little bit longer. And as we're holding it and we're pulling it and it's amplifying, just continue to notice, what do you experience? And it may be different, it may be the same.
No, it's like a burning. I don't know how to just,
Mm,
yeah, like a,
yeah, okay. Okay. And Stephanie, as you stay with that burning, is there a movement or a sound that, and this is where people are like, oh God, she's getting weird. But I do a lot of weird shit. Sherry could tell you that. Sherry Johnson. So is there a sound that wants to come out?
mm, not really.
Okay.
Just like I don't even know. It's weird now. Now it's like I'm really like paying attention to it.
Uh-huh.
It just really feels like, and the color that keeps coming up is red. It's like a red rubber band.
It's a red rubber band.
Mm,
Okay.
a really thick one.
A thick one. Oh, so good. And just stay with it a little bit. Just breathe into it for a moment. And again, just notice if there is any type of sound, or even maybe if there's a movement. I'm not thinking movement just because the way you're describing it, but you never know.
The only sound that I could think of that would come to mind is if I let go, it would go pop.
Perfect. Okay. So pop.
Pop.
Yeah. So almost like if we were to amplify it 10,000 times, it would snap
And
and it would pop.
it would pop.
Interesting. Okay, so we're going to do that for a moment. We're going to actually let it snap for a moment.
Okay.
I know all this sounds really wild, guys, for some of you probably. So even Stephanie's never done this with me. So it's all new for her too. Okay, so here we go, Stephanie. Here we are. And we're amplifying and we're pulling it and ready, pop. Keep going.
Do I keep pulling and popping?
Keep pulling and popping. Couple more times. And then amplify the pop for us. And yes.
My dog's going to wake up.
Yeah, my dog's barking downstairs. Keep going. It's okay. We can wake him up. One more. Okay. And then just let your hands relax for a moment. And just notice what's happening right now for you.
It's still there a little bit, but it's now just in one little spot.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it was before it was moving down. Now it's just in one little spot, like right there.
Okay. And tell me, is there any part of your life right now that could maybe use where it would feel really good, maybe freer to have a little bit more of the pop?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. Tell
Yeah.
us about it if you're willing.
Family stuff, just dealing with elderly grandmother and sick mom, being like out of control with that, not knowing
And
what to do.
what would it look like if there was a little more pop? Like what does that bring up for you?
If I was able to, which is, I won't say won't happen. That's not a good word to say. If I was able to have a little more control over things, then it would be a little different. So there's things that I can't control.
Yeah, so it's almost like bringing a little bit more control is what your body is asking. And it's almost like, but that isn't in your control.
Yeah.
So it's not in control. What is in control? Not that actually, you can't control their health.
Yeah. I can't control how their health is being taken care of.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
And is there a part of you that wants to right now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense. I don't blame you, right? People you love, you want to make sure they're being taken care of. Yeah. What is the part that you can control?
How I show up and how I'm there. I can control that.
Yeah. And how do you want to show up?
I want to be there more than I should. How do I say this? They live far away. They're in Louisiana. I'm here in Georgia. So I would like to be there more, but that's not good for my health. And yeah. So it's a struggle, right? It's a struggle. That rubber band. Oh my God, the rubber band. I want to be there, but I know, and I want to have more control over things, but I know for my mental state and my health, it's not the best.
Yeah. So it sounds like some really strong boundaries for yourself. And I love that you just said that. It's like the rubber band, right? Like on one end of the band right here is the wanting to have more control and be involved and be a participant. And on the other side, knowing that when I'm there too much, it's not good for my own mental health. And so how do we right now create a boundary for yourself? So the tension right here, right? Because right now it's wisdom. Your body is saying, hey, Stephanie, it's being pulled too much. So how do we start to relinquish some of that pull, but still keep a strong boundary?
That's a good question. Still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gotten my visits less and less, but when they're less and less, I go there, things are a mess and they're out of control.
Yeah. And I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
I never will. I wish I had like a magic. I say this all the time to my clients. I'm like, let's just pretend we have a crystal ball. We're going to rub it. And there's the magic answer. I don't know.
Mhm.
But my guess is if we keep exploring the pop, if we keep exploring the tension between these two things, there is an answer. There is something that's right for Stephanie.
Mhm. But I never thought about it that way until we did that. Like, that's what it feels like. It's like the rubber band. It's a circle, right? Rubber bands are circles.
That's
And you
right.
pull on one end, you pull on the other. Eventually, they're going to pop.
Yeah. Yeah. Eventually.
Mhm.
And the wisdom is here is for you is how are we going to, believe it or not, that tension in some way, I also see it as tension can also be a border. So it's circular, right? Oh, rubber band. Oh, perfect that I keep them all over my office right here.
Mhm.
It's also your boundary. And you're going to get to decide, right, what goes inside, meaning how often you visit, the way you visit. Do you stay there? Do you need to stay somewhere else? Like all the different things, all the decisions. And then all the things, which I know you're so already so great at, but like in keeping and taking care of you. So yes, you go there and support them, but equally important is that the circle around you is
Mhm.
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this doesn't become
Mhm.
about to snap.
Yeah.
Mm,
Makes sense.
yeah. Keep inquiring. Keep listening to your neck, to the tightness. Keep
Mhm.
asking some questions. There's lots there, I think, to help you find, I don't want to say the right answers because there are no right ones, but
Right.
it might take some failing before you get it.
Mhm.
I believe everything takes failing before we usually figure it out.
True.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being vulnerable and allowing us to play with you.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Rachel.
So guys, this is just unpin you for a second. Stephanie, you don't have to stay pinned. So this, like I said, is one little piece of some of the work we do. And so let me just break down what we did, the steps. And so first we're going to make contact with the body. Often when you're working with a client, you might have already been in conversation. And so you may not have to be like, close your eyes and feel into your body. They might be talking about something. And instead, you might go through the door of, tell me a little bit about where you feel that in your body. And some people are very disconnected to their bodies. So before we even get to this place in the somatic journey, we have to actually teach them how to connect with their body. But once they can make connection with the body, we want to understand the sensory experience that's occurring in the body. So if we use Stephanie as an example, first we made contact with the body. She felt it in her neck. Okay, that's the contact. Number two, understand the sensory experience. The experience in her body was tightness, right? It was tension. She said it felt like something was pulling, right? That it was tugging. She felt there was some pain and it was traveling down her arm. She told us that it was warm, that it was red. Okay. We want to really get to know that experience for the person because part of that also is allowing them to be seen and witnessed. Okay. Once we get to understand the sensations the person is experiencing, I like to have the person put that experience in their hands or show me with their hands what that experience is like, because I don't want them to necessarily be pulling and tugging on their body. Once we see how they show it with their hands, once they show us, sometimes it can be like a fluttering or a spinning. It's not always like a fist, right? It depends. Each person is different. Number three, we're going to amplify the sensation. And you might be wondering, why do we amplify the sensations? Because that's what life does. Think about it. If you are not feeling 100% and you ignore the sensations in your body, most likely, let's say if you have sore throat, then you ignore it and you just work really hard and you don't give yourself extra sleep, it gets worse and worse and worse. This is just what nature does. This is the same thing that happens with shame. It's someone says something, it's not witnessed, we experience it, and the more we hold on to it, the longer we hold on to it, the more it amplifies. After we amplify the sensations, I want to connect to sound or movement because there's often a piece in there. Often people are a little bit nervous to share sound or movement, but the sound or movement often gives us eyes into this experience in another way. And then the last step is we need to inquire into the sensations. We got to learn about them. We need to learn from the wisdom they provide.